Hey y'all, I'm Rylan. Welcome to my channel. And welcome to part 2 of my bookshelf audit series. This is part 2 of 3 parts as I go through all of my unread versus read books and get some stats and see what my numbers are looking like right now, as one of my 2026 goals is to bring up my ratio of read versus unread books. Right now, as far as I believe, I think that I'm sitting right around 40% of the books that I own being read versus unread. In the first part of this series, I was cataloging my thriller books, mystery books, and horror books as one group and seeing which ones I had read and which ones were unread, and just getting numbers down as I work toward upping the number of books that I physically own and have read. Now, one thing that I argued quite consistently in that video is that I do unhaul a lot of books, so there is a pretty constant change in what is on my shelves as I read things and unhaul them, and then in replacement of those books that I unhaul, bringing new things in, of course. But I do want to get a very rough number. I'm going to make another page in my reading spreadsheet for this year just with the numbers of read versus unread books that I have based on each genre, and my goal by the end of the year is to have 70% of the books in this library to be read and 30% of them to be unread, but we'll see how plausible that ends up being. I did not do this audit or this catalog of numbers before I made that goal, but I do think it's very doable. I can read upwards of 200, 250 books a year just because I don't really do anything but read and go to work, and I think that I can get there if I focus on these numbers and getting them up. I've also not been hauling in as many books this year so far, knock on wood, which is great. We're gonna keep riding that for as long as possible, but I thought today we'd go ahead and dive into part 2 of this audit, where I'm gonna go ahead and count my romance collection. So what I did in the first part of this 3-part series is I went through every single bookshelf that I had and I counted and just very basically wrote down the total number of books that were on that shelf as well as the number of books that I had read, and then I went through and added up all those totals as well as what was read to figure out what had not yet been read. That worked very well when I did it a couple days ago, so we're going to go ahead and do that again. System is nothing crazy, but I have 7 shelves on this main bookshelf of romance books, as well as my favorites shelf is just romance, and then I have a book club and book convention romance shelf as well. So we're going to go ahead and count all of those. And also a thing to note is that these are not including any romances that I've hauled so far in 2026 because they're not actually on my shelves yet. I have to do my Q1 book haul first. So once I do that book haul, I'll add those onto these stats for today. But without further ado, we're just gonna go ahead and go through and count all my romance books, see what's read, see what's not, and hopefully the numbers are maybe a smidgen better than what the thriller, mystery, and horror numbers were. But before I do that, I just want to say that this video has no strong conclusion, no take this and go. This is just this video needs to go up to hopefully hold me accountable as I work through my physical TBR this year, and we'll see and recount at the end of the year how we ended up doing. all of our counting is officially done, and I am happy to report that I have read about 10% more of my romances than I have my thrillers if you watched part 1 to the series. If not, I have it in the cards above and in the description down below. Currently, after doing all the math and all the numbers, I have read 42% of the romance books that I own. In total, I own 282 romance books, which is quite a bit more than I thought. That is probably almost half of my entire collection, just between these bookshelves back here, plus my favorite shelf, plus my book club shelf, and then I have some book of the month romances as well, fanning out on either side of the 3 main ones. So out of the 282 that I have read 119 of them, which means that 163 are unread. I'm not saying that's a surprise. We all know that I own a lot of books that I have not read, but I am happier with the fact that at least this genre is a little bit better than my thriller genre was in terms of what I've actually read from my shelves. I will be taking notes for this and putting them into a spreadsheet alongside my thriller, mystery, and horror books, and hopefully keeping track of books and updating these numbers as I read books from these genres, as well as add books in that I've hauled during the year. As of right now though, my first haul, which will be coming at the very end of March or early April, is not super crazy right now. I don't think I've purchased a book since like the second week of the year, which I will take. But that being said, this is basically just a video to hold me accountable. I have no grand, revelation at the end of this. All I will say is that my goal is to increase this number of read versus unread, which is why we are cataloging my numbers here, doing this little audit video, this audit series, and hopefully it will help me focus on getting some of these numbers increased throughout 2026. I will say several of the books that I counted in this video I am either currently reading for upcoming vlogs or are on my February TBR, so I should be able to get some more of those romance books read this month alone and be able to increase this percentage at least a little bit. But this is just a video to look back on at the end of 2026 as we recount the year. I'll give y'all final stats, see where I ended up at, but for now, all I can happily say is that I have 282 romance books and I still need to read 163 of those. We'll check back in at the end of the year. I'm sure there'll be vlogs, of course, throughout the year with books featured in the romance genre. I already have one in the works right now that should be coming out right before or right after this video. If it's already out though, I'll have it tagged in the cards above. But for right now, that is all that I have for part 2 of our bookshelf audit. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.